What's going on, everybody, and welcome to episode 9 of Wreck Bike Rebuild. We are frantically starting this episode because... That's Brian. What up, Brian? We have a 360 camera for the live stream. If you guys don't know, this is a Patreon-funded bike build series here on YouTube. It is thanks to the people that support this series that we are even able to create what this is going to end up being. If you want to check more information out about the series, how to join in, links, as always, top link in the description. The bike is not going to be mine. I'm going to be giving it away. You can find out more information on the Patreon page, but the reason I say all that, the top supporters on Patreon can actually watch this shit live, and now we're doing it in 360, so they can like scroll around. It was a giant pain in the ass, but it finally got done. Also, before we start the build, there's a sponsor we get to talk about, and thank God, because I'm out of breath. Okay, so with rebuilding a motorcycle, I have been in need of lots of OEM parts. Me and Brian have found multiple pieces that are just broke off and just all types of shit. So I looked up a company and found one I really like. So Babbitt's online is a pretty solid OEM place. I've pretty much ordered everything I needed for this bike that was broke off or that we just needed to replace. They are awesome for sponsoring this episode for all these parts. Thank you very much. Also, fun fact, they are gonna give you guys 15% off with the coupon code WBR2. Wreck Bike Rebuild 2 is what that stands for. 15% off, and their prices are already solid. I actually bought all my parts with them before I even knew they were gonna sponsor the episode. So, thank you, those guys. That box is actually really heavy, and I don't remember what is in any of those boxes. Hopefully Brian can help me out with those. I was just like clicking and ordering. Anyway, Babbitt's, thanks for sponsoring the episode and sending out all the OEM parts. You guys get your OEM parts at Babbitt's, and we're gonna now build this motorcycle. Brian!
Sir?
Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Brian's been ready for like 15 minutes, and I was like, hey, I got a lot of like prep for this episode, so like, I'm sorry, I tried. Brian, the man, the myth, the legend, yes.
Look what you got.
So guys, Brian recommended me, it was your wife, right?
Yes.
Brian's wife was watching the episode with Brian. They were like, you know what? There's something you need. When we have our hands like all in this area, it's black. Everything's black, and then we had the black gloves, and they were like, you can't see nothing. I'm like, that's a great freaking idea. So I ordered orange gloves, and they
much brighter.
They even have grippy stuff. I tried. Yeah, so I tried one on earlier, and I'm like, dude, them ain't bad. Brian, give us the status update, Facebook style. Is Facebook status updates? What are we looking at with the bike today? We ended the last episode. We got the new frame in, got the subframe on. I know there was a little situation with the subframe.
So that's where we need to start. Is with our one little piece of hardware that did not really want to drive home correctly.
Yep.
So we're going to go back in and we're going to use a tap, and we're going to clean out all the threads for the frame where the subframe connects and make sure that we don't do any damage to any threads in the frame itself.
Let me just say that your hands are bright as shit. Actually, you know what? I forgot, Brian. I forgot to tell you. Last week when all the guys were here, a package came in. Because remember how we like safety stuff? Check this out. Who sent this? This is from Rob. I'm not going to read your last name, obviously. So, Brian, we are even more ready. We got a welding shield.
I wear a shield all the time.
You do?
Yeah.
Just why?
Because I already wear glasses.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So to put glasses over glasses is tough.
Right.
So I use a shield.
All right, so we got a shield now. Hold on, we got more stuff. Welding gloves. So I
now
know.
we need a welder.
Well, well, it's not just that. We also have, you know, just typical working gloves. More safety glasses, because safety is a #1 concern. We have a Leatherman, which is dope, right?
Nice.
And we got a t-shirt. What else we got? That's it. Rob, thank you for sending stuff, and thank you for keeping us safe. Can you tell, Brian, that today's been a little bit rushed for me?
Actually, it looks like you had 15 cups of coffee. We're going to have to remove the subframe to get to it because it's way down.
Gotcha.
And here's the hole that we're having some issues with. So
oh, so it's only that one hole that we
just
have
that
the
one.
pumps.
Everything else went in nicely.
Okay.
It looks like it lines up from the outside. The whole thread is visible,
Yeah.
so it should go in fine, and it doesn't want to. So
Okay.
I just want to make sure that all the threads are clean and straight before we start trying to drive stuff in real hard.
I was under the impression that we needed to redo all of them.
Nope, just the one. We have one of our pieces of hardware right here that is supposed to be going into that hole, so we could verify thread diameter and pitch before we run a tap in it. And
Cool.
if you guys want to know how to do that, I could show you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll show the people the kit I got because I think I just got it off Amazon, so it's like pretty easy.
Just
and
the metric.
yeah, I looked at a lot of kits, and if you want to get like both, it's like triple the price. Or you can just get the metric set.
So what did this cost you?
I think this one was like $70.
Okay. That one was about 400.
Yeah, that's a no.
And that's pretty much what they refer to as a master kit.
Oh, okay.
Because it's standard and metric. It's taps and dies and both thread pitches for standard and metric. And then there's handles to drive everything. So this is your thread gauge, your thread pitch gauge. They all just look like jagged little teeth, but they are set in a way that these are all the different pitches of threads that they use. So what we're looking for is the proper pitch, which I think should be 1.25 millimeters per rotation of bolt. And if you could see that right there, that's a good clean fit. So this is the correct pitch, 1.25.
So that's how you now. How did you know that pitch? Just from doing it, or
I mean, I could have told you this without using a pitch gauge. So if you wanted to see what it's like if you put the wrong one on there.
Yeah, let's look at what happened if I was doing this by myself.
All right, so our correct size was 1.25.
Okay.
This is, if you could see it, a 1.5.
Got it.
And if you try and line it up,
Oh yeah, you can see it doesn't even.
they don't actually fall into the threads.
So you got to get that just perfect.
You'll see it when it goes in. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Cool.
Right, so now you need to know your diameter,
Okay.
which is fairly easy. There's a couple of ways of doing it. Sometimes when you get a kit like this, it'll come with a little sheet with holes in it.
Yeah.
And each one of those holes will be numbered, and you kind of just stick the bolt in it until you find the right hole.
Fair enough.
If you don't have one of those, like this kit does not, you could use a veneer caliper, which is the one that slides open and closed. You know, kind of does one of these for you. And then you actually want to go this way, and you want to go on the outside of the threads, and that will give you your diameter of the bolt.
Fair enough.
So, and then the other way to do it is, you know, you look in your kit, and here's a 9 millimeter by a 1.25. And you always want to start your bolt on the side. It's either going to say other side, which what this one doesn't, or you always want to start from the side where it tells you the size and pitch.
Okay.
This is a 9 with the correct pitch, and it doesn't want to start. So that's not the right size. And that is the correct size, and these threads are a little messed up.
On the bolt?
So, yep. So that's why it didn't want to start.
And that's hypothetical what these things will fix. Was it just like bend the metal back, or?
It's exactly what it does. It bends
No
it
shit.
back, and if it's that bad, it will actually cut metal away.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So this is the holder.
Gotcha.
You just drop that in, tighten it up, and then ratchet, and you're just going to turn this in. And as the threads get cleaner, you'll actually feel how much easier the bolt will turn into your die. Now that this has been through the die, you can literally just kind of spin it in with your fingers. That's how nice and
So
clean.
this previously wasn't going in with your fingers. You had
No.
to.
I had to turn it in with the ratchet, and now it just turns right in and out.
So
Everything's-
hypothetically, you've now fixed that bolt, and we should be able to put it in the subframe.
Hypothetically.
Yeah.
But once you've gone this far, it doesn't make any sense to just give it a shot when
Okay.
you can check the threads on the other side and be sure that they're both in good shape.
Okay, so how do we check the threads on the other side?
So we know what size,
Yeah.
diameter, and pitch we need. So now that we have Now that the bolt side has been cleaned up, now we're going to clean up the inside that receives the bolt.
And I assume that's what all these guys are.
And that's exactly what those are here. So we're done with our die. Let's make sure we put it back in its right home. So these are dies. We've used the die. So now we're moving on to the tap so we can do the corresponding hole to this bolt.
Okay.
So we've pulled the right tap out of our kit. So this is your standard tap holder. That's in there nice and tight. So now we can run this through the frame and make sure that the threads on that side are clean. Well, to my pleasure, these threads feel really good.
So it was definitely the bolt.
It was the bolt that was the issue for sure. So, but while we're here, we're just going to run this all the way through. This will actually clean out any leftover Loctite that was in the hole as well. Now I mentioned how nice this fit in the hole.
Yeah.
And you can see how much material it still pulled out.
Holy crap.
Now this isn't a whole lot for anybody that's used a tap before, but if you're first time using a tap, this is about as little material as you're going to take out with a tap. Regardless whether the hole is clean or not. So every manufacturer uses their own tap and die from the factory, and it doesn't take but a tiny bit, whether the threads are deeper or a hair wider, or they're shallower. So when you run your tap through, it's going to wind up picking up any leftover material that was not exactly the same size as the tap that you're using. Now the diameter and the pitch is the same, but that doesn't mean that the teeth on your tap are as deep or as shallow as what the factory used when they made their holes.
So Brian, what do you think about the low? Not, I wouldn't call it low cost, right? Like the consumer grade tap and die set.
I think it'll work just fine. I think it would be a good value for somebody to have this at home.
Yeah, I mean $70 versus.
And for those of you out there, where's the camera? The camera's there. For those of you out there that have seen the meme, when you walk into the garage and you see these tools out, turn around and walk away. Now that we have this and it's been cleaned up and the threads in the frame have been cleaned up, now we're just going to try and turn it in by hand and make sure that everything goes in smoothly.
Freaking better. Based on having just edited the last video, you were not a happy camper when
that
you're
didn't
trying
go
to,
in?
Yeah.
Now look at that.
Holy crap. Yeah, so last episode that I just edited, there was a couple shots of you just like, and you could see it on your face like,
That's not
yeah,
good.
I'm not doing it. I'm not pushing it. Not pushing it at all.
How nice that was that just threaded in.
Yeah, that was literally.
So now you know that these threads and those threads match perfectly. Now we can Loctite it, put it back in, torque them all to spec.
I'm pretty proud of my little $70.
That is a great buy.
You heard it from Brian. Goodbye. Link in the description.
So nice that is.
Like we don't even need a wrench. We don't even need any types of
Well, I know my fingers are fairly torqued, but we're going to need to put a torque wrench on that.
Brian's mad because I didn't. Oh, camera's all angled. Brian's mad because I didn't. What did I do? Like untorque it all the
I
way?
didn't turn down the torque wrench.
All right, we're looking for subframe. Looks like 45 or 44. I mean,
44 Newton meters. What is it in foot pounds?
32 foot pounds. Yep. Knowledge. Okay. Now the subframe is on correct.
Now the subframe is on.
Okay.
That wasn't too bad.
No, that wasn't bad at all. You have a tap and die set and like nothing. We've got the subframe on correctly. We've got all the bolts torqued down to spec. So now
You got two choices.
Ooh, what paths we going? What paths we going?
All right, so either we can hang the rest of the harness because it's kind of just flopping around out here.
All right.
Or we can get in and start cleaning the subframe out first. It doesn't really matter which order we do it in.
I'm saying we clean. I'm saying that way.
I'm fine with that because this is all laying out here, so we can like handle this a bit better.
Yep.
So at this point, it's going to be a couple of rags and maybe some of that S100 spray polish stuff again.
And that's what we're going to use for the inside of here.
And we'll just use spray it on the rag, so the rag is a little damp. It'll pick up all that dust and just start wiping everything out. Because like I said, you really want a brand new machine that looks this dirty on the inside.
Right.
And when we're done, this is going to be, for the most part, a brand new machine.
Well, you excited, Brian? Time for a cleaning montage. Alright guys, we've done I think a pretty decent job of getting all this little stuff cleaned out for what we can. So now we're moving on to rerouting the this thing. Brian is currently juggling the wiring harness to figure out which wires hook together, because there was a weird little section where the left side lapped over the right side. They're like connected together, so we're trying to figure out which parts of the wiring harness clip together.
We may just need to leave that open until we get some stuff plugged in. So once they're all laid kind of in here like this together.
Yeah, because I'll have to plug into a certain spot.
We'll be able to see where they get tied together at that point. So
the engine will be our masterpiece, where we use that to figure out the rest of the things.
We got to route some of this stuff up so it's out of the way so we can start working on getting the engine back in.
Dang right. Yeah, we have that little metal piece that we got to plug a lot of shit into.
Yeah, and then that gets bolted in somewhere. Because Chase was the one that disconnected the wiring harness.
Dang right I was.
So Chase needs to remember how to plug it all back in again.
Review the footage! This is where I need an intern that could like go review footage. So before we go and try to review footage from previous episodes, Kawasaki's service manual is pretty solid. So we're going to check out the service manual first. So it turns out one of the inherent benefits of recording Wreck Bike Rebuild is we pulled up episode 7 and found out, like, we got the screenshot of how the routing worked. So we were able to tell using that where these wires are going to be routed. Okay guys, so what we're going to do is we're going to put this little front piece back on to help us figure out where these wires are out to.
Yes, that's how it goes right there. This is actually going to be inside of that fairing cover.
Boom, look at that. We just put the head on and call it a day.
And that makes sense now.
Actually, you know what? This is one of the parts that's in all the Babbitt boxes.
Hey, meter bracket.
Here we go.
What the hell is that?
Thanks, Babbitts.
That's fun. This isn't my garage.
Brian's like a grown-up kid in a candy store.
Yeah, because when I'm working on my own stuff from work, I don't get to do shit like that. You know? Wow, look how nice that is. That means we don't have to clean that one.
I was about to say, every one of these parts is one part we don't have to clean.
We need to transfer some parts from this to this.
Oh, part transfer.
So all the bushings. So 1, 2, 3, 4 bushings have to go to the other side.
Brian, why is it just me, or is transferring bushings a pain in the dick?
It's a pain in the dick.
Okay.
Now, wiring harnesses usually are the least amount of fun.
Yeah. High level, not fun.
You know, it is what it is. They're obviously very necessary, but it's like, all right, I'm replacing a harness now.
Yeah, nobody gets excited.
Nobody gets excited over replacing wiring.
I'm about to reroute the shit out of this bitch. Now that we've got the gauge cluster on, time for more cinematic shots of rerouting wires. Yes, I'm doing cinematic shots of rerouting wires. What's our next thing? Because we've got all these kind of hangy-dangies.
Yeah, well, all of this stuff goes up top. This goes on top of the airbox. So
Okay.
this plugs in the airbox. This was mounted to the top of the airbox, and I'm pretty sure this little bad boy plugs right into here, like that. So we could just leave that aside.
Gotcha, no biggies.
And then these are, I believe, your secondary injector. There's 1, 2, and then the other 2 are on the other half over here. This stuff kind of stays up here.
All right.
All this stuff kind of goes like this. And insert engine.
So are we to the point where we need to put the engine on now so that we can start?
Not quite yet.
Not quite yet.
We need to figure out this mount.
Right.
So we need to do this part. There's a lot of stuff that's going to get all of this stuff that's just hanging out over here out of the way and tied off, because I mean right now this is kind of cumbersome.
Yeah.
So you need to figure this back out. It needs to be remounted, and then everything that we can hook to it wire-wise, we need to hook to it.
Does this mount to the bike before we mount the engine?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's stayed on
Okay.
until we had the motor out.
So I'm gonna find the video where we undid that, so we can have a diagram of that kind of stuff.
Yep. Does it get mounted to it gets mounted to the inside of the fairing?
Oh shit!
Right?
Yeah, it does.
Because when you had this thing off, it was
Yeah.
just dangling here.
Yep. Alright guys, so we found a clip in episode 7 where you can kind of make it out. So we're trying to use that shot and judge what direction these things go on.
Oh, I have to tell you that this one seemed like it snapped on a whole lot better than the last one, than this one.
Yeah. I'm going to update you guys whenever we get this figured out. So, if we're skipping past the random little stupid thing.
Alright, well this has to come up here.
You can grab a zip tie and we can kind of like temporarily kind of house it right there.
Yeah, we can just go like this. Okay, engine goes into this hole here.
So we're ready for this engine?
Yeah, I need to make a phone call real quick.
This break was sponsored by, I'm just kidding. Alright guys, engine mounting with Chase here. So we've got our 2017 we got our 2017 ZX-10 engine. Obviously weighs a good amount. You don't want to do it by yourself unless you're a trained professional. Don't worry. Can we cut? Can anybody? Can we cut the shot? Shit. Don't worry, Brian. I've got the engine.
You alright over there?
Don't worry about me, Brian.
We kind of need to prop the back of the bike up in the air a little bit first.
Are we talking rear stand jack it up, or are we talking jack it up?
Well, we have rear stand racks, so I guess we'll start with that. We've got so many of these things laying around that we have to figure out where they go to.
Yeah.
Let me rephrase that. You've got so many of these things laying around that you have to figure out where they go to.
Everything is okay.
What'd you run over?
Okay guys, so at this point we are ready to get the engine back on the lift. We've lowered it down, obviously, so we don't have to lift the engine as much as possible. So now it's kind of just like getting the engine in there and working it up with the jack.
And did you get a new one of these?
I did.
Now would probably be a really good time to swap that out. That's a good point. Yeah.
Never mind. All right, guys. So Brian had a genius idea before we gave both of ourselves hernias with this thing. I ordered a new one of these guys, which is a oil cooler. So what we're gonna do is take it off because I mean literally the engine is perfectly placed for us. We're gonna replace that guy. Then once we have the brand new one on there, then we're gonna put the engine in there.
That's probably because of this.
Wow, that did not work like I expected it to.
Now you saw how shitty it was to get that hose off of there, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably gonna be just as shitty to get it back up.
Unless you add wax or whatever that's supposed to be.
Just a little.
So now, let me guess, you're gonna put it on, rotate it a little bit, just, or not even. Holy. Jesus.
Made it a little easier, right?
A little bit.
Lube is your friend.
Yeah, I'm glad you said something about changing that out now, because that'd have been a shitty thing to do when the engine was flipped over.
I just pissed on myself.
Brian, what did we say in episode 1? No pissing on yourself. Oh, Brian. I knew I shouldn't have let you hang out with Dan and Jake and Moto. And now I let Brian hang out with some idiots for one episode and he's all over here pouring coolant on his bolt. Not a motorcycle. Not a piece of metal. And now, ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for the main event of the evening? Tonight, here in this stadium, we will be seeing 2 men, 1 motor. 1 team will survive. That's pretty good. I think I could be an announcer. What do you think?
Except for the fact that you kind of sound like Michael Buffer.
Who's Michael Buffer?
So we need to stand it up,
Yeah.
and then it needs to pretty much be flopped over that way.
Alrighty. Jesus Christ, that is an ugly engine.
All right, let's slide this thing towards me.
Okay.
God, I gotta pick it up a little bit.
I need this spot.
There we go. There we go. All right, so we're gonna lower this right down to you. It's almost gonna lay flat.
Okay.
No, like that way. This way.
Oh, I see.
Not all the way. Hold it right about there.
Okay.
And then we're gonna up and slide it in. You ready?
Hold on, let me get the spot.
All right. 1, 2, 3. You get on the other side. You got it.
Yeah, I get it. Alrighty.
All right. Rock it back up on its edge again.
Yeah.
Swing the bottom forward. There we go. All right, if you want to hold that, I'm going to start cranking the lift up.
Yeah.
Tilt it back a little bit more and slide it forward a little bit more. So, now the fun part is picking up the motor and then sticking the jack underneath it.
I'm gonna hug it.
And you gonna try and pick it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get a good 1, 2. There we go. Okay.
All right, so what we're looking for is this motor mount on the frame.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it doesn't hang up on anything as the motor comes up to this mounting point. Jack is gonna make it there.
Pick up the jack. It's not
Now is that spacer almost there?
Yeah, spacer's getting really close.
Okay.
Once that spacer's in, should we go ahead and like
get that one in. If it's lined up, let's go ahead and put that bolt in.
Okay, it needs to come up probably 2 more turns. Keep going.
Actually, we're high on this side already, so.
Towards me.
Yeah.
It's lined up out there.
Alright, so now I'm going to continue to jack until the top one lines up.
Yep, because now it's going to pivot. Alright guys, so we have this kind of bolt through here at the bottom of the engine, so Brian's going to keep lifting up the lift to try to pivot the engine backwards so that this hole gets to here, and this little guy gets lined up there.
Alright, you ready? We forgot to do something.
Uh-oh, what did we forget?
The ground wire and the starter motor wire. The last 2 that we pulled off when we took the engine out.
Oh, the ones that were hanging there.
So once this thing goes in that last bolt, they're going to be really, really hard to get to. So I'm actually going to lower this back down a bit.
Okay. We're going to keep the bolt
on the pivot, yep.
Okay.
Let it pivot down until we can get to that those 2.
Gotcha. No, yeah, I remember the engine was like almost hanging by them. Nice.
Now we can resume with reinstalling the engine.
Oh shit. So guys, rear stand.
Oh, this is free.
Look at this other side. So the engine is.
Oh, that's doing it. Okay.
Oh, you
Can
found
you crank it down a little bit?
Yep.
Okay.
What was it?
It's hitting against, pushing over here. Gonna start coming up.
Okay. What was that?
The pushing on this side for the upper motor mount was touching the frame.
Oh.
So that, because nothing's tight, everything kind of wiggles around a little bit. So. All right, stop. We're in the same thing. We're just picking the bike up now. There we go. Spacer goes on your side, in between the frame and the engine.
Yep.
Can you get that in there?
Yep, I can. It's through the spacer at least, so. Oh, or that. What? Oh,
I
you
just needed something to push it with.
Gotcha, I see.
Because we need the specs for the engine mounting bolts and the order in which they get tightened.
Oh, really? There's an order.
Usually.
Okay.
Usually you want to start with one of the rear bolts,
Yeah.
whether it's the upper or the lower, depending on the situation. And that would normally be one rear bolt, then the other rear bolts, and then the front ones are last.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Made short work of that.
I've been in there turning forever. All 4 motor mounts are torqued. Engine is in the frame.
Motor is officially in the bike. You know, we're getting really close to the bike as it was when you first got here.
Yep.
You stay there.
Oh,
What?
hopefully there's enough room to feed that in there.
What's our next step before we decide where we are on this episode?
From here would be routing the rest of the harness again. Back to the harness.
Yeah. You know, Brian, I'm thinking next episode we'll do the harness, we'll do the radiator, we'll do the exhaust. And that way I can order a battery and maybe we shoot to have the bike running next episode. Would that be reasonable?
That's reasonable.
I hope you guys don't hate me, but I have, looking at the footage and looking at the time, it has been a minute. So in order to keep these episodes the normal amount of time, I think I'm going to pull an executive order and I'm going to call this the end. Anyway, outro. Alrighty guys, that is going to be the end of this episode. We got the engine in, so that's solid. That's a pretty big freaking deal. And I've got to figure out these whole bolt situations. I'm going to grab a battery. And the next episode, we're going to really push to get the bike started, that's pretty freaking exciting. I think that's relatively straightforward because the engine was a big ass.
You got to remember, it took us an entire day just to get it out.
Yeah, true.
And
I think next episode is going to be pretty tedious. Like a lot of little pain in the ass stuff.
Yep, like this right here.
Yeah, what the hell even is that?
Because putting this thing back in is probably going to be about no fun at all.
Oh God, I don't even want to look at it. Alright guys, if you got to this point in the video, it would be awesome of you to hit that like button. It's massively appreciated and it really helps the videos out. If you guys enjoy Wreck Bike Rebuild, make sure to check out the Patreon page for more information on how you can support this build and potentially get the bike. Somebody's getting it if you're a fan of the series. Good times. I'm Chaseontwowheels. That is Brain, aka Brian. And we'll see you guys on the next episode. Fun fact, next episode will be in 2018. We're going to be taking a 2-week break, January 1st. And after that 2-week break, we will resume with Wreck Bike Rebuild in full effect. Hope you guys are excited. Hope you guys have a happy freaking new year. And I will see you guys, or we will see you guys in 2018 with a running ZX-10 ideally. I think this is episode 9, so episode 10 will be that. Anyway, you guys go out there and ride positive, and I'll see you on the next one. Later. Alrighty, outro crew. Oh, side fact, Ron, if you're watching this, thank you for sending the package of stuff. It's always awesome when you guys send stuff over, especially when it has to do with...
Was it Rob or Ron?
Was it Rob?
Let's get it straight now.
Rob. What did I say, Ron?
You did say Ron.
All right, Ron, thank you for watching this video. Rob, thank you for sending a package. Jeez.
You're welcome, Rob.
Yeah, you can thank Brain for that one. I didn't almost forget your name. It was just yeah. Shut up.
You need more coffee.
Dude, I know. Hey,
or less coffee.
No, so last episode you said something about, because I made a big deal about saying torque to spec, and I told you I'm not torque to spec because you said if you weren't torque to spec you'd fall to pieces, and I said I fall to pieces, just not on camera. Now I do, I guess. I guess literally the next episode filming, I'm just terrible.
See what happens?
Anyway, outro crew, thanks for watching to the end. You guys keep farting with your hands. Jesus Christ. Falling to pieces, Brian.